Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Beyond Seven Figures podcast. This is Charles Goddard here, and with me is a guest who's owned a number of different businesses, most recently put his company on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies list. He's had companies from a realty company all the way through to Lease Examiner, and now he's the CEO of Leveraged Information Technologies. I know they do a lot of work with government and all this other fun stuff. We'll dive into that in a little bit. But Paul Sjoberg, welcome to the show, my friend.
Charles, I appreciate spending this time with you, and thank you for having me on your podcast, man. I appreciate it.
One of the things that we learned just from being a business, I was having a conversation with a past podcast guest, and who was from the Marines, was a number one honor student out of the Marines. And he said what he found to be the important part of business success was what made the military so phenomenal, and that was to expect the unexpected. And so how has expecting the unexpected, or more specifically, expect plans to not go as expected, how has that impacted any part of your entrepreneurial endeavors? I mean, have they always gone to plan for you?
I've been pretty blessed in my entrepreneurial journey to be able to mitigate risk and push forward. Obviously, in anybody's journey, there's going to be significant challenges along the way. Expect the unexpected is exactly a true statement. And you try to do the best you can to kind of mitigate those risks over the long term. And I actually have a fairly good example of this. In the government world, contracts are recompeted. So in my space, it's usually every 4 to 5 years, the government recompetes the contract, and the marketplace has an opportunity to rebid on that contract. And if you're part of the incumbency, that's a level of uncertainty there. Is the government going to keep me around, or are they going to let us go? We were on the incumbent side, and this actually happened just a couple months ago, and we found out that we lost the recompete. We were on the team that lost. But our marketplace is so small, and we had built such a positive relationship with our customer, and we happened to know the incoming company fairly well. And I had a relationship with the program manager who was incoming. And so they ended up retaining us. We didn't lose a single person. They retained us, and we're going to keep going. And now we have a new 5-year contract. Yes, expect the unexpected, but if you treat the marketplace well and you build authentic relationships across your customers and within the community, you can survive kind of those tumultuous situations.
Your newest company, Leverage Information Technologies, you do a lot of work with the government. What percentage of your work would you say you do with the government?
100%. So LIT is an IT services company where we supply software development, data science, and big IT solutions to the Jason Bournes and Jack Ryans of the world. And that's all we do. So most of our work is subcontracted through large integrators and large primes, companies a lot of people have heard of, like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. These are big defense contractors who also supply a fair amount of IT services to the federal government.
Now, getting into a lot of those organizations, there's usually two primary ways. The most common way is you've already had relationships and it was easy just to be able to walk in and make things happen. But the more scalable and hardest way is aggressively going after it, making the relationships happen for you, whether that's outbound, having a team, and so forth. I'm just curious, how have you been able to forge all those high-level relationships?
The work that we do demands a security clearance. And the particular clearance that I have is a really hard one to get. And so not a lot of people have it, and the government has to issue to it, and there's a huge process in it. So the community is rather small. So coming out of college, I actually worked at Lockheed Martin for 12 years and climbed the corporate ladder there. And I left there to start my own company. But all the players in the space, it's relatively small. So for me, it was really about getting the confidence to understand the business and the experience at Lockheed, and sort of graduating from being a big company guy to being a full-time entrepreneur at that point. But the key, even though we're in IT, is really the personal relationships and building those authentic relationships and not burning bridges, and understanding that it's not necessarily always about the IT solutions, it's about the people. And so that's basically the entire crux of what I built LIT around, is building authentic relationships with our customers, with our primes, with our employees, and with potential candidates who want to come work at LIT.
So what would you tell the entrepreneur, the CEO who's got a business right now and is saying, man, I want to either crack that nut and get into government business, or I want to expand the work that I'm doing inside of government? What tips and advice would you have for them?
I think what I've done is specialized within one customer, and we get access to that one customer through multiple contracts and through multiple primes. We're getting the revenue from lots of different places, but it is with one core government customer. I think that has served us well, and it's allowed us to go deep on relationships. The people that I serviced as a Lockheed Martin employee early in my career are now government managers and are making decisions about who they want to work with in the future. And just running back into those same people walking the halls has been a huge benefit to my business. So not everybody can break into specifically what I do just because of the security requirements and clearance requirements. So you would have to come in via kind of a mergers and acquisitions. If you were a CEO for a government, a contracting business, and maybe you were doing work for IRS or something, and you wanted to break into the intelligence community, probably the easiest way to do it would be to do it via a merger or an acquisition.
Or you saying like, if you really want to make it big, go into like the Army and be the best at the Army, not just the military in general.
If you go and Google intelligence community customers, there's a lot of different government agencies that fall underneath the intelligence community umbrella, right? We chose to specialize because we knew how hard it was to break in with this particular customer. And it's also, frankly, where my experience was and where I grew up in my corporate career was with this customer. So it was very easy for me to level the risk a bit because I was playing in a swimming pool that I'd been in tons of times. I'm just wearing a different color swimming suit this time. So for me, that specialization has really worked and has allowed us to go deep with the customer. I have just attempted to kind of remain laser focused at this point. And if something falls in my lap that is analogous to what we're already doing, and it happens to be at a different agency or a different organization, we would definitely take a hard look at it. But we're not out there spending a lot of hours and dollars searching for it.
There's so many divisions within the agency itself that just represents sort of your ideal client profile, but you have multiple clients within that ideal client profile. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely. So right now, LIT has access to probably a dozen contracts directly with our customer through probably 7 or 8 different companies. If you look at where our revenue comes from, it comes from like 7 different contracts currently. And then we have hunting licenses to staff on the rest of them. It's an interesting arena to be in because there are more positions than there are people to do the work because of the clearance requirement and because you're dealing with IT. And engineers are hard to find anyway. So yeah, you're absolutely correct. We are with one customer, but we're diversified across 7 or 8 different prime contractors, and we use them to gain access.
So if security clearance wasn't mandatory for the role that you take, and it just could be anybody that has a really, really great technology platform, that would be much more difficult to play in this area, but you're in a much smaller pond. You're a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, the clearance requirement is a very large hurdle. There are plenty of IT companies that service the government that just can't break into this space because they don't have anyone within their company that has the security clearance to begin with. And you can't read the request for proposals. They're all classified. So it's nearly impossible to break in unless you're kind of already in the club.
There's so many other advantages that go beyond just security clearance too. I was talking to a few clients that are women-owned agencies, and several of them would love to get into the government, but they haven't taken the time to go through and have a certified women-owned business, or minorities to have certified minority-owned business. And there's a lot of inclusion type of requirements that the government also has. And those are all little advantages that all can add up and help you become that bigger fish in the small pond. And as you look more and more into it, you're going to find there's tons of these little nuances that you can also build in.
Yeah, the government as a whole has become very, very small business friendly. Unfortunately for myself and LIT, our particular customer does not have to do small business set-asides like that, so they don't. So all the IT contracts go to large integrators. There is no small business set-aside, which is why primarily the majority of my business is subcontract work. You have to get to a certain size, have a certain number of years of experience, get a small prime contract, and then keep growing. And eventually you can grow to be a bigger fish in the pond. But there's no small business set-aside games with our customer. And so I don't get to take advantage of those things. I'm also not a woman, and I'm also not a minority, and I'm also not a disabled veteran. So I actually don't fall under any of those classes anyway. But yes, the government has been, as a whole, very small business friendly, and there's lots of opportunities out there for small business.
When you talk about small business set aside, How would a small business take advantage of that small business set aside?
You have to be certified as a small business and then as a small business of concern, which is the women-owned business, right? Or a minority-owned business, or Alaskan is a big one too. You kind of have to be approved in those categories. They call it, like, some of them fall under an 8A. There's a section of the government called 8A. And so you have to be approved for those. But then there's tons of websites out there where the government releases RFPs for small businesses, requests for proposals for small businesses. And once you have registered as a small business of concern, you can hunt after those. But there's a lot of companies that are doing that. There's lots of small businesses that are gunning for that type of work. And the great thing about the government is they don't always pay on time, but they always pay. From that perspective, you can do the work and you're eventually going to get paid for it.
You have any tips for winning RFPs beyond just coming in at the right price?
And I think it comes back to building authentic relationships. It's really hard if you don't understand the customer space or haven't lived in it. It's sort of at that point like throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping it sticks. But every agency has sort of like a small business office, and they have some sort of outreach that you can reach out to them and talk to them. And they're pretty forthright about how you can break in, and at least they make it seem like it's going to be easy, and it's never as easy as they say it is. But those things do exist. So winning an RFP, because we primarily subcontract right now, our participation in writing proposals is often just from a cost perspective, but the government isn't always lowest cost technically acceptable. Some of these proposals, they're looking for really good solutions and they're willing to pay for it, especially when it comes to keeping our country safe.
Oh, that makes sense. You still own True North Realty, is that correct?
Yeah, so sort of my entrepreneurial origin story is True North came first. I was working at Lockheed Martin. This was 2005, 2006, and that was the last time real estate went bonkers. So I got licensed, and I realized I really enjoyed helping people make potentially the biggest financial decision of their life in purchasing or selling a home. And so while I was working at Lockheed Martin, I was running a real estate business on the side. And in 2009, I started True North Realty, which is still going today. It's a boutique brokerage. We sell between $7 and $10 million worth of real estate a year. I do zero advertising. I'm really just helping my friends of friends, and people in my sphere of influence. And that's gone really well for us too.
Oh, that's exciting, man. What would you say is the biggest challenge that you've had to date as an entrepreneur?
That is a really good question. I think the biggest challenge has been consistently laying the framework or the foundation for the next step. And so I do a fairly good job of operating. I'm a fairly good operator, and I'm pretty good at the emotional quotient thing and building a business that cares about its people. And so those things sort of come naturally, but I don't have partners. It's just me. And so what do I want this company to look like in 2025 or 2027 and 2030? And what are the things I need to be doing now to lay that foundation or framework for attaining those goals? And I think that's the hardest part, but I also think it's the most fun. I mean, the hardest part is like reaching those goals, and what do you need to be doing now to be able to reach those goals later?
If you were to look back at your entrepreneurial years, what is the best decision you would say that you've made towards your career?
Jumping off and doing it in the first place. So running a little boutique real estate brokerage while you're working for a large engineering company, not terribly risky. That's a lot of fun and things I enjoy. But leaving my full-time job at Lockheed to start Leverage Information Technologies while having 4 kids and a wife and a mortgage was fairly risky. I think laying the framework out in front to feel like it wasn't as risky. I'll tell you the other thing that was really hard. So Lockheed had me on a stay bonus. And if I would have stayed 3 months longer, I would have made 70 grand. And so I walked away from $70,000.
You walked away from $70,000.
Yeah. I only had to wait 3 more months, but the opportunity to start LIT was right in front of me.
Because you already had a deal in front of you? Or you just got excited about it?
Yeah, I had another company called Leidos that had an open position that fit my technical skill set. And so I didn't know how long that position was going to be available. And the other kind of thing is you have somewhat of a little bit of a non-compete, right? You can't be working at Lockheed, interview as your own company to do IT work for Leidos and the government. So I actually had to leave Lockheed before I could formally interview for the role as a subcontractor with Leidos. So not only did I walk away from $70,000, but I was betting that interview was going to go really well.
Most people, I don't know, would have had the same amount of, well, it's belief and it's confidence, it's conviction, it's commitment, it's all of that and seeing the vision all the way through. I feel like there's always going to be a reason when you think about it why you shouldn't do something. And how many times throughout the course of your entrepreneurial career have you really had to kind of think and go, okay, we're going to take, it's a big risk, whether it's a big hire or, partner, decision, deal, whatever that might be.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was interesting. Just, my dad was a military officer. Both my grandfathers were either in the military or worked for the government. And so I don't really have an entrepreneurial pedigree at all. And for the longest time, I worked for the largest defense contractor on the planet, Lockheed Martin, while running the most smallest boutique real estate brokerage outside of Washington, D.C. And so I had the benefit of kind of both worlds. Like I tell people all the time, like I feel like I graduated from Lockheed Martin. I feel like they were very good to me. It was just something after having that taste of entrepreneurship and wanting to do something a little bit on my own and being able to control how I treated my own employees. Large corporations have a lot of red tape. If somebody does something well, you want to give them a little bit of a bonus or something. You got to go through like 3 levels of HR to get approval for that. So some of those things were just starting to grate on me because I felt like I was managing $12 to $15 million worth of contract value for them, but I couldn't give a guy a $300 thank you gift for working overtime on a weekend, right? Now at my own company at LIT, the whole philosophy is built around employee engagement and bringing a bit of light and sunshine into the government space. And so if I want to reward somebody, it's easy. If I want to pay for one of my employees' kids' softball dues for the year, I can do that. It's just a different level of control that you can have at a small company. And that's really the part that I've enjoyed, is building corporate culture and building a company that I'm really proud of being a part of, let alone getting to lead it.
So let's dive into your team and team environment. It's number one, it's tough to attract good talent in general, but so much of your talent that you're looking for is specialized talent. Yeah. Not only is it tough to attract talent, but then it's even harder to attract the type of talent that you're looking for. So what is your secret for attracting the talent and then retaining the talent?
Yeah, that's a really great question. The government is not clearing IT resources fast enough, not giving them the security clearances fast enough. Meanwhile, the need for them is growing. We did a couple of things that were a little bit different, and I stole them from other entrepreneurs, to be perfectly honest, with their permission. And we have a vivid vision document, which you get from Cameron Herald. So that is unheard of in our government space. We provide those to all candidates. Joe McClinsky over at Shift gave me his example of a heartbeat document. It goes into how the employees are going to be treated and what they can expect from the corporation. And so a lot of times when we're interviewing candidates, by giving them those 2 documents, we're already providing a huge discriminator that they have never seen in their career in a government contracting space. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, just putting our money, energy, mouth where our mouth is, right? Like actually doing what we said we were going to do. You mentioned the Inc. 5000 list. Probably the award that we're most proud of is we made the best places to work in Virginia list in 2022. And we did that. We don't actually have a corporate facility. All of our people work in government buildings. So we won best places to work, and I don't even control the environment that these people work in. I have 37 employees now, and I still hold one-on-ones with each of them at least twice a year. We also do some simple things like quarterly event, and we get folks together. 2 of them are kind of like state of the company type situations, and then we eat and have drinks and stuff. But the other 2 are usually family related. We'll have the employee and their families come, or we'll do a +1. And so after winning best places to work, we then hired what we call a corporate culture specialist. And she's part-time, and she helps schedule like all of our virtual and in-person events. And that's been great. We've been able to kind of do a bunch of different things and kind of double down on our employee engagement stuff. And so we have very little turnover, and we tend to organically grow because once someone has had the LIT experience and they're enjoying themselves at the company, they tell their friends and they tell their coworkers who are not necessarily LIT employees. And so we get a lot of referrals too. It's been a nice byproduct.
Richard Branson talks about how it's more important to take care of your employees, to put them as a higher priority than even that of your clients. His point was clear that if your employees feel like they're taken care of and they love their job and the people that they work with, by default, they're going to be really, really great to your clients.
Yeah, and there's actually a couple of things built into our particular customer space, part of the culture is once you're in a position, you have to be there for a year. So you get hired into a role, you walk in, you're there 3 months, and all of a sudden you realize it's a really toxic environment for whatever reason. Just the government office space you happen to land in is toxic. Well, other companies in our space will try to force that person to be there for a full year. It sort of forces that employee to then just go look for another contractor to work for. We decided against that. I mean, it's part of our employee heartbeat document where we will rehome you if you want to be rehomed for under a year, because we want to retain you for the long haul. Nobody wants to be sitting in a toxic space. And a lot of our growth has come from putting people in a role, finding out that the environment and the mission is amazing, and then pumping more people into it. It causes growth to be a little slower, but it's good growth. And it's people who are happy in their jobs and don't want to leave. The mission is amazing. The work is amazing. And then they're happy with the company that's paying them. It's a recipe for low turnover.
One of the things that you mentioned, in addition to take care of your people and they take care of the clients, and it's just a nice environment for everybody to work in. Another reason why they stay and why they come to you is if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the very elementary type people that are barely making enough money to pay their rent and their food, and they're really paycheck to paycheck, like money becomes the most important driving factor. And if somebody's going to offer them $10,000 more, well, they're at a point where they need to take that $10,000 in order to better provide for them and their family. But once you start working with people at a higher level of skill and ability, where they're making enough money that some of that can go away to savings or spend on vacations and their family and put money aside and whatnot, they're higher up on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So they get closer and closer to self-actualization. That means that when they go to work for somebody, they want to make sure that they're actually enjoying the people they work with, they enjoy the company that they work with. And that's when culture becomes really, really important. When you want to hire top players, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a culture, but you just expect that, you're going to get people who want to work with you because you're going to pay them a premium, you're not going to attract the right client.
In a lot of cases, that's why we also stay away from headhunters and using recruiting services, because a lot of those folks have floated their resume with the purpose of just making 20 or 30 grand more. I get resumes across my desk all the time of people who have 12 years of experience, but 10 different companies during that period of time. And no matter how great they might be technically, we won't even hire them or interview them. So
one of the questions that I love to ask our guests is, this is the Beyond Seven Figures podcast. If there was one really big piece of advice that you could give the CEO that's listening that says, all right, how do I take my business beyond seven figures? What would that big piece of advice be?
Well, I always tell my employees, I'm the only person that can't quit. I'm the CEO. Everyone else could go find another job somewhere else, but this is my company, right? So you can't just walk away. I really think you have to build a company that you love and that you want to be in. And for me, that has been 100% true, is just building a company that I would love to be an employee and being patient, patience, and build a company that you would want to be a part of. And I'm 100% a person that thinks leadership needs to have a servant heart. There aren't too many businesses out there that don't involve people. And so you need to be able to lead people, and you need to be able to be a servant leader to them.
Now, if people want to learn more about you and LIT and the work that you do, where do we send them?
Well, I'm not going to tell you anything about the work we do, because then I'd have to kill you. But, my last name is so unique. I'm pretty easy to find on social media platforms. I love talking to people. I love mentoring, and I love being mentored. So if something in this episode spurned your interest, please, it's not too difficult to find me on those platforms. Mostly Facebook and Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn as well, and would love to have a virtual coffee. It'd be awesome.
There you go. And so that's Paul Sjoberg, but like you said, his name is spelled interesting. So it's Sjoberg.
Yep.
So that's Paul Sjoberg, Sjoberg. All right, my man. Well, thank you very much for being a guest on today's Beyond Seven Figures podcast. For more tips, information for scaling your business, please make sure to also check us out at predictableprofits.com. Again, that's predictableprofits.com. This is Charles Goodite with my friend Paul Sjoberg, and I will see you in another episode.